Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias.
I thought I'd talk a little bit about the LinerLock folding knife in the Rough Ryder Wasp series. Now, this series came out a couple years ago. I think it's one of the last series that has the big R on the bolster, and which is why I did not pick up more of these. You know, looking at this and going, well, you picked up two of the LinerLock folding knives. I'll explain why I have two of those in just a second as well. I really like the way the handles look on this, the black and yellow micarta, and the way it, they did it. They looked really cool. The reason I did not pick up more in the series is because of the hideous big R on the bolster. I finally got around to picking up one of the LinerLock folders around Christmas time, and I was looking at doing a video on it shortly after picking it up, but one thing led to another and things kept going on, and I did not start to do the video until about 2 weeks ago. Now, when I first picked up the knife, I obviously opened it up, looked at it, looked at the lockup going on there, and I tried to close it, make sure the lock was working and everything was fine. But then 2 weeks ago, I was in the process of doing the video. This happened. So this is a locking Sodbuster Jr, or a locking mini Sodbuster, we can say also, to get away from the junior part. And what we have here is a nice little liner lock that holds that blade in place. And a lot of people do complain about the little bit of a bump on the liner lock there. But if you put your finger right in front of there, it almost works like a little choil. And this blade is definitely... Wait, what happened? Okay, you got to be careful, man. Not too crazy about the lockup on this one. Yeah. All right. That's not good. This one holds. All right. Yeah. Well, that's going to be a problem. I guess I will be contacting Rough Ryder about this knife. Dang it. Well, won't be doing this video, at least not yet. I've got to contact Rough Ryder, and I bought this knife so long ago. So I got a hold of customer service with Smoky Mountain Knife Works, explained the situation that when I had bought the knife, it was like almost 3 months ago by then. Maybe even more than 3 months. In any case, they looked up the order number, and the person said, okay, we'll send another one out to you. And they sent another one out to me. And that's why I have two of them. The first one I bought, the lockup, while it worked the very first time I locked it, it failed later. The only way I can get it to lock is to push it over all the way, and then it will lock. But just by opening it, it should lock, but it doesn't. And it looks like it locks even, but it doesn't, which is a little bit of a problem. And so I picked up a second one, or they sent me a second one, a replacement one for the one with the faulty lock. It came, looks like it locks up, and it has a much stronger lock than before, but as you can see, it will also fail. And you know, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, but I am putting some pressure on it. So I think Rough Ryder really needs to investigate what they're doing with this particular liner lock, because I do have this one. This is in the Glow series. Now, this is the old-fashioned way that Rough Ryder used to make their knives. You can see here, you know, the liner lock is not nearly as thick. You see that? It's a thinner liner lock. The blade is lacking its swedge and everything else. But the difference is this liner lock does not fail. It comes across and it engages properly, and it's also easier to loosen a little bit. So it's a better liner lock, even though it's a thinner liner lock. This one works better. It locks up every time. I have no issues with it. But now, the liner locks on the Wasp series, once it fails once, it's going to fail every time. And that's the problem. You have to then intentionally engage it. You have to push it across in order to get it to engage. Once you've done that, it will hold. But that is not the way the liner lock should be working on these knives. And I have a feeling that when they're checking them in the factory, everything is fine, because the lock is coming across, it's engaging, they're doing this. It's like, okay, it's good. It's not going to fail. But you put about 20 pounds of pressure on it, or notice that it's like, you just keep loosening pressure and it eventually will fail. And that's a problem. So this really looks cool. I do love the way it looks. But I would not trust the liner lock on any of the Wasp series liner lock knives. The other problem I also had with this knife is, notice the thickness of these knives. And a good chunk of that is just the micarta handles. They're just much thicker than I think they really need to be. Look at how thick that liner lock is. So it's a much larger knife in your pocket than the older one. This isn't, like I said, in the Glow series. And it isn't just the liner lock that is making it so much thicker. It's the actual micarta handles. Really does look nice, though. I can't fault it for that. But liner locks are supposed to hold, and it doesn't on either of the two I have here, unless I push that liner all the way over and engage it. And on this one, even when I push it over to engage it, eventually it's going to rock and fail. This one, I can push it over, I feel it snag, and it holds. So that's better, at least. But you want to have confidence in your lock on a locking knife, and I do not have confidence on the locks in the Wasp series. This one I have a lot more confidence in. No swedge, okay, I don't care. I'd rather have a lock that works than a fancy swedge. So hopefully Rough Ryder will look into this thing with the liner locks on these knives and see what's going on. And I would suggest going back to the old liner lock. That works a lot better than the one they're using now on these, at least. The other issue I have with the Wasp series is the blades are said to be VG10. VG10. I've heard that multiple people have mentioned it to me too. The blades on here are VG10. Where does that say that on the knife? Now, I'm not saying they're not VG10. What I'm asking is, why is the knife not marked VG10? They mark the knives that are 440A, 440A. This is not marked VG10 anywhere on the knife. It is also not marked VG10 anywhere on the box. The only way you know it's VG10 is if you look on the web page or but any of the multiple sellers that are selling it will tell you that it's VG10. But, you know, 5 years from now, how am I going to convince anyone that this is a VG10 steel unless they're a metallurgist and they can check it? So if Rough Ryder is going to make a knife in VG10 steel, I would strongly suggest making sure that you mark the knife VG10, because we do know that other knives in the series were, well, not in the Wasp series, but other knives that Rough Ryder have made in the past were originally said to be like carbon steel, and they turned out to be stainless steel. And it was not Smoky Mountain Knife Works' fault. They were originally, the specs called for a carbon steel. They were expecting a carbon steel, but when the knife showed up, the manufacturer did not give them carbon steel blades. They gave them 440A. And they did not mark them 440A or anything like that. Note we see that here on the Wharncliffe blade. There's nothing on the back side. It just says Rough Ryder on this side. We don't even know where this knife was made according to the knife. So in this day and age, if you're going to be using VG10 steel in the knife, you should be marking it VG10. If you're going to be using carbon steel, it should be marked carbon steel somehow, so on and so forth. Same with even 440A. They're marking them with 440A, so they should be marking these with whatever steel that is being used in them. Okay, I was hoping to have something more positive to say about this. What I can say is it's really a great looking knife. I will trust Rough Ryder in that the blade steel is VG10, even though it is not marked that way, because I think they do have a pretty decent reputation about that kind of stuff. But I will also warn you that if you are going to use this and you're going to rely on that liner lock, make sure it is fully engaged. Push it over as far as you can to make sure that blade locks. And don't test it too much, because it will slowly loosen as you rock back and forth until eventually it will pop. So continuously check your liner lock to make sure it's working. But as for the bump here, that bump does not bother me at all. Matter of fact, you can see here, and I mentioned it in an earlier video that did not get released, that the liner lock bump kind of forms a forward choil on the blade, which is kind of a good thing, because if you got your finger up there on the blade, then you really don't have to worry about it failing. In any case, there's my thoughts on the Wasp series by Rough Ryder, and specifically the little liner lock Wasp that is basically a Sodbuster Jr with a liner lock. It's a really cool looking knife. It has some flaws in the design, but overall I'm still kind of pleased with it. Hopefully Smoky Mountain Knife Works will heed my warnings about that liner lock and consider going back to what they did with the Glow series liner lock work knife, because this one, I have a lot of confidence in the liner lock on this one, not so much on that one.
let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.